Well, very good evening from me. It's Tim here. Most of you know that. I don't think I get many views from strangers. It's not the sort of thing that strangers would watch. But if you are a stranger, I'm so excited that you're watching my video. It's been a very long time since my first recording of Bridging the Gap, some weeks ago. And since then, my subscribers, the people that have been watching my channel, have gone up by 1,000%. I started with just 0 subscribers, and just after the first episode, really excited to have 10 subscribers now on my channel. So just really excited. Thank you to all my friends that have taken a look and taken the time to watch. And backed by popular demand, people have been demanding and asking when the next Wedeocast or whatever you might like to call this is going to be. And here we are now, so a few weeks on, and so much has changed since the last time we were here. Boris Johnson has been in hospital with coronavirus and apparently nearly died, and he's kind of now back leading the country. We've gotten further and further into lockdown, and now we've had a few restrictions lifted, but it doesn't really feel like much has changed. Let's get rid of this annoying music. There we go. Annoying music has gone. So, welcome to the second episode of the Un-named Wedeocast, and I will name it after the recording of the video, because I really don't know what I'm going to talk about much until I actually do. So, without further ado, let's talk about some stuff. An awful lot of people have inquired regarding the drug-dealing pram pusher. And, you know, I must admit, after the recording, I was astounded at the number of people that were concerned for the welfare of the neighbourhood and the other people around. And after the recording of the Un-named Wedeocast that you're watching now, I must admit he disappeared for quite some time. I didn't see him for a couple of weeks. It was very bizarre. And I thought, oh my goodness, the police have obviously watched the video. They've caught up with the guy that wears the orange jacket pushing the pram, and they've caught up with him and they've thrown him in jail. And a couple of weeks ago, so I actually saw him again on a different route. Interesting, so he's altering his route. Some of you might find this disappointing, but I imagine a huge relief when actually I did see a child in the pram. So it turns out, ladies and gentlemen, that he's not necessarily a drug-dealing pram pusher. In fact, he is a parent with a child pushing a pram. So really, I did get the wrong end of the stick there. And so I just want to apologise if you have in fact been watching the podcast, the Wedeocast, and you're that gentleman. I apologise from the bottom of my heart. I didn't mean to offend you. I've got the sort of welfare of the neighbourhood at my heart there. So anyway, that's by means of an update. There you go. There you have it. He doesn't deal drugs. In fact, he has a child that he pushes in the pram. I wanted to share with you a couple of things that I've been doing during lockdown, during this coronavirus crisis, to I suppose fill time a little bit in a way. I don't think we have to feel bad in kind of and find excuses for the fact that we are finding things to occupy ourselves, to pass time, because there will be a day in the future when this will all be over, and social distancing hopefully will be a thing of the past. I can see it being around for a lot longer yet. Some of the things that I've been doing is bird watching. In our garden, we don't really have many, but we have some big birds. We have some seagulls and some pigeons. But we've put out some feeders and we've tried to feed the birds a little bit. And we take a video, me and my son, we take a video every day to send to the family. We don't put it online, but we send it to the family and we give them an update. And we had to wait for the blossom to come onto the tree because my nephew thought that it might be the blossom on the tree that would bring the smaller birds into the garden, the tits and things that we really wanted to see. And the blossom came and there were still no birds. And then early one morning, with much excitement, I had to pull out my phone and take a quick video because all of a sudden there were these 2 blue tits in the garden, giving us a beautiful display, flying and kind of foraging for things. It was really exciting. So that's just one thing. And if you follow my Instagram account, you'll be able to find me on there, tim.tbrown or Tim T Brown, one of those two. I've been doing a bit of baking as well. And my mum is a really good cook. And so I've grown up in a house where cooking and eating good food is just at the heart of family life. And so I've been doing a bit of baking, but it's all been, I was given a book called Super Grains and other things. And in this book, you need the most obscure ingredients to make most of the things, most of the meals. So things like potato starch, quinoa flour, almond flour, flaxseed, ground flaxseed, flaxseed oil, all these random things that you only find on Gloucester Road. So it has been a bit of a challenge to try and find some of these ingredients, but we successfully made some a quinoa crusted quiche. And then we used the egg yolks from the leftover egg yolks from the quiche to make some lemon tart. We stuffed some squash with millet or millet or however you say it, and another lovely caramelized onions, really nice things. So check out my Instagram feed there and have a little look, and I'll hopefully get a few more things made this week for you to have a look at. And if you want the recipes, do just send me a private message. I'll happily send you some of the recipes over. I mentioned a minute ago that we've been doing the bird watching, and we have been trying to do a bit of gardening as well. I mean, we're hoping to do a few developments on the house in the future, and so we don't want to invest too much in the garden. But we were given a few foxgloves which we've put in, which they're flowering really nicely now, and a couple of plants which that my father gave me, and I was slightly confused at first because. As many of you know, that I'm a Christian and I come from a Christian family, and my father gave me these two plants. He sent a photo of them at first, and he said it said the photo, and below the caption, I think he was trying to name them. It just said "Hell is proud," and I was slightly concerned at first and worried. I didn't know if it was kind of something that was going on with him. In fact, it was just a typo. It was meant to say Helleborus, but in fact it said Hell is proud. And now the plants have become known Hell is proud in our garden, and every day Isaac and I go round and have a little look at the Hell is proud. And they're growing really well. They won't flower till a little bit later. We've also planted some seeds of night-scented stocks, which are coming up really nicely now, and normal stocks, and some peacock orchids and things like that. And our arum lily has got its first flower. It's still quite a small plant. They can grow really big. We've got some in the neighbourhood, but we've got our first arum lily, which is really exciting too. So a bit of gardening, and the weather has been really good. Really, really good for gardening. And I think it's a bit weird, really. Like, I don't know how you guys have been feeling during this coronavirus crisis, during the lockdown. I have, as a good friend said to me a few weeks ago, I've been feeling all the feels. I've been feeling everything. And there's no doubt that I feel like I'm alive. I think during this time I've laughed harder than I've ever laughed before. I've cried far more than I've cried in a long time. And it just feels quite intense that like everything is either kind of wrenching at your heart, or it's you like in absolute hysterics. And I think, there are times when one feels quite low and quite sad about kind of what the family are missing out on my son growing up. And I think it's we see that across many different areas as well. The weather doesn't really know what to do. One day it's sunny, the next day it's raining and it's cold. And I think we're all everything's just a little bit up and down at the moment. And I think that's perfectly normal. I think that's an acceptable way to be and to feel. I don't think we must beat ourselves up that we're slightly shaken and we're in a slightly odd patch at the moment. But I think we must stick together. We're created and born for relationship, and at the moment most of our relationship is done through a camera, through a laptop screen, and that's absolutely exhausting. It's not like having a normal conversation in front of someone. It's much more intense, it's much more tiresome and tiring, and so I think, like I say, I'm hoping that a day's coming when when social distancing and this virus has passed, and we can get back to being friends and seeing loved ones and people that we're close to. Yeah. I mentioned a minute ago my son. I'm trying to protect his kind of identity a little bit, so I don't kind of talk about him too much on here or put too many images on social media and things. But one thing that is quite awkward is that he's started recently. I think he's just at this stage in his development where he puts his hand in my mouth and in my wife's mouth quite a lot. So he'll grab his hand and it'll just kind of go, oh, ugh. And I have tried to explain to him that during the coronavirus sort of crisis, that might not be the best way to greet people. We have to try and kind of obviously keep 2 meter distance. We have to wash our hands regularly for 30 seconds, singing whatever song might last for 30 seconds. Wipe all our stuff down with anti-bac, wear face mask, wear gloves, do this, do that, and he's just going around putting his hands in people's mouths. It's really not going to go down so well. So I have been trying to obviously sort of ward him off that, but he's still young. He's still very young, only 8 months old. So he's not really getting the hang of it. But we've just bear with us. We have had that conversation about that situation. I don't know if many of you have subscribed to Disney Plus. Apparently there's a deal on. We subscribed because we were sort of drawn in by their advertising. And so we've got Disney Plus, and we've been watching through the Marvel series. We've been, the cinematic universe, they call it. It's very dramatic, the Marvel cinematic universe. And we've actually got all the way through from the beginning to the end now. And I'm slightly surprised that my wife wanted to watch that. I think the first Captain America, one where it's set in the wartime and it's a bit historical, based on Earth, it kind of drew her in, and she was really looking, she enjoyed it, and it was a bit sci-fi, but she enjoyed it, and she was looking forward to the rest of the series. And then we get to things like Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy, which of course are just a little bit out of this world, a little bit surreal, but certainly Guardians of the Galaxy is one of my favourite of the set. The soundtrack and some of the songs in that film are absolutely awesome. So if you haven't watched it, it's well worth a watch, especially if you've bored with, I don't know, watching this video. I think you will probably find it really quite funny. So I'd recommend that. It does require you to have a Disney Plus subscription, of course. One other thing is we've obviously been communicating with one another through WhatsApp and things an awful lot more. My mum, she's not that old, but she's kind of that generation where they're quite good with technology, but it's not like their first language. And she's been starting to use these avatar emojis, which is really funny. Like, where you can, I've been using them a bit. You can edit your avatar or your emoji to look a bit like you. And mine's not very good, but I have done a much better job than my mum, that I think just kind of got to the first page and then must have clicked save, because she just looks like a bald baby in her avatar emoji. So we're kind of having this nice family chat, and then all of a sudden mum kind of puts up a bold looking version of herself giving a thumbs up. I find those avatar emojis quite fun, really. You can find an app to do it. It takes quite a long time though to really hone it in to make it look like yourself. Now, one more thing I just want to address before we kind of draw this video into a close. Now, the first video I called Bridging the Gap, and I'm not quite sure what this one's going to be called yet. I just named them after I filmed them. But you would have noticed that I was maybe a little bit optimistic when I then after the title put Season 1, Episode 1. I think season was a little bit optimistic, and I'm not quite sure how many seasons we're going to get through. Maybe this is Season 2, Episode 1, and each season just has one episode. It's been long enough between the recordings, I think, to maybe warrant that. Or maybe this would just be Season 1, Episode 2, and we'll be waiting years for the next season. So, yeah, thank you again for watching. Just one more thing that we're we're going to address on the next recording. An awful lot of people have been probably exercising more than they may have done before because they're not getting that natural amount of sort of exercise from going to work and being on their feet and stuff, which is really good. We're encouraged to go out. It's good for our mental health, and lots of other things. But what's quite awkward, we go out for a walk every day around 4:30 for between kind of 45 minutes to an hour, depending if our son falls asleep. And one thing that I've been struggling with is I've dubbed it as the coronavirus corner. Okay, a little bit of alliteration there for you to kind of remember it by. The coronavirus corner. And what that is when you're walking down the street and you reach a corner, and there happens to be someone else that has walked down the other side, like corner of the block, and you happen to have reached the corner at the same time, you're then sort of forced into this obligatory dance where you're kind of wondering, do you dart? Do I dart to the left? Do I go into the road and potentially get run over? What's going to happen? We're going to bring some tips and advice on how to avoid your coronavirus corners on the next video, so on the next episode. So that's something to look forward to. I did mention in the last episode actually that I was going to be having a haircut, and I did have a haircut a few weeks ago, but like I said, it's been quite a while since I recorded, and I think I'll be due another one quite soon. I had to nigh on force my wife to use the clippers on my head. She used the clippers on the back and the sides, and then used the scissors on top. First time she's ever done it. And of course, I've been to the barbers hundreds of times in my life. She's been to the barbers probably never. She might have seen her dad, or she might have walked past a barber's, but there was me just assuming and expecting her to know what to do with a set of clippers. And it was an interesting and I think quite a quick learning curve for her. But she did a great job. I was so pleased and very impressed that she picked it up so quickly. And she even said to me, Tim, I think I would probably trust you to cut my hair. So there we go. I think that's a win-win there. So watch out next time. I might have had another haircut and I might have cut my wife's hair. I know. That's impressive, isn't it? Don't know of many men that will cut their wives' hair. Anyways, right. I think we've come to an end. Next time, join us to learn about the coronavirus corner. Join us to learn about whether soup is a drink or a food. We're going to be covering this one in quite some detail. So, and remember, folks, when you're out and about, when you see folks on the street and friends and family, please do not put your hands in anyone's mouth as a sign of greeting. It will not go down well. But I've been Tim Brown, and this has been the Un-named Wedeocast. See you later.